Good evening. Welcome to the May 20th meeting of the Transportation Committee. My name is Mark Valentine. I'll be stepping in to preside over this evening's meeting. First order, call to order. We have members of the committee in the audience as well as staff, as well as on Zoom we have other members of the committee, including Captain Alberti. Thank you for joining us. Second item, approval of our minutes from the April 15th, 2021 meeting. Any comments, questions on those? First off, discussion.
It looked good to me.
Okay, so seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
I make a
I'll
motion
make
to
a
approve.
motion.
Oh, okay, Mary motioned, I'll second.
Mary
I'll
moved.
make a motion.
All right, I'll
to
second.
Approve the minutes as read.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Nobody opposed? Okay. So then jumping down into our committee discussions. First item, Penfield Gardens. We had some concerns about speeding, accident-related items in that. We had gone out and done some traffic counters most recently, and then also reached out to get the accident data. So Sarah, you want to provide us a little bit of update on that?
Sure. So we received the accident data from the sheriff's office, and it appears that there were 5 accidents on Brentwood at the intersection of 441 in the last 3 years. And then there was on Hillrise 1 in 2019, 2 in 1 in 2017, 1 in 2021, and on Willowhurst there was 1 in 2019. None of these accidents were due to speeding. None of them were at intersections within the neighborhood. All of the ones on Brentwood were specifically on 441, whether it's people turning out or actually on 441 in the middle of the road, but Brentwood is the nearest road. So that is why that's declared part of Brentwood accidents. As for the remaining accidents within the subdivision, they were due to driver inattention or similar situations. Again, they were not at the intersections, which was our main focus of concern from the resident, both that and speeding. For the counts, Brentwood on the southern side, close to 441, has an ADT of 1320, so 1,320, and an average 85th percentile of 28.5 miles per hour. So that's just above the speed limit of 25. We also counted north of Willowhurst Drive, and that was an ADT of 199 and an 85th percentile of 29 miles per hour. Then we also counted Hillrise, which is an offshoot to the east, to the east on the southern side of Brentwood, and that had an ADT of 980 with an 85th percentile of 24, so that wasn't a big surprise. And then we counted Willowhurst, which is the next parallel street up, and that was an ADT of 122 with an 85th percentile of 31. Reviewing the neighborhood, it appears that the majority of the T intersections and crossing intersections, so 4-way intersections, do have stop signs. There are not 4-way stop signs. There are stop signs on either side of Willowhurst at Brentwood. There is one at Hillrise, and then there is not one at the end of Brentwood that turns into Hillary, and there is not one at Hillary as it turns into Brentwood. Those would be appropriate locations if we so chose to put in stop signs to match with the other sections of that neighborhood. Hillary on the southern side is more likely to be a concern than Hillary on the north side because that is a T intersection on its own. There's no other intersections close to it. The southern side that's close to Hillrise Drive.
Thank you for all the information and data gathering for that. I don't know, the resident had some concerns about, speeds in that area going through that. Based on the data we've got, as typical, they may be going a little bit above the speed limit, but it's
Yeah.
kind of in relation to, unfortunately, what we see on a lot of streets and.
But it's not
and
like 45 miles per hour.
Yeah.
28, 29, that's reasonable almost.
And the number of vehicles entering the neighborhood is not an unreasonable number. By taking the numbers on those side streets, we're seeing a reflection of where people are going based on where the houses are.
Right, so it's not, that's
It's-
not really a cut-through neighborhood.
Not really.
I mean, the access off of
It's a lot of
Brentwood,
work to cut
seeing
through.
1,300 count coming off of Brentwood is a lot for a normal neighborhood, but coming off of 441, that's the main access in, and then it seems like people disperse quickly
Right,
into
into their
whichever
streets, yeah.
street they go and neighborhood that they live in, so we're offshoot of that, so. I don't, thoughts, comments, the committee of, you know.
Sarah, were there
concerns?
any outliers within the data, or on any of the particular streets showing that, one or two vehicles was traveling at an excessive rate or a particular time of day?
I did not actually analyze the data for that
Okay.
depth.
I mean, it's one thing we can look at if one particular road has someone going, that someone is, racing or speeding up and down that, that's something that we can provide to the sheriffs, and especially if we can pinpoint the kind of time or day of the week, that they can maybe able to add that for, special attention and enforcement. But I think, the overall data is, what we would hope to see.
Where exactly was the person complaining about?
The initial complaint was throughout the entire neighborhood, just requesting that every intersection be either a 3 or 4-way stop, depending, whether, if it was a T or a crossing intersection.
Did this come from one resident or from several?
One resident.
One, on behalf of some conversations that he had with a few other friends within the neighborhood.
And they want stop signs at all of the intersections.
That was the initial request. I explained that, we would have to look at the overall neighborhood and make sure that it's consistent throughout, and that likely that would not be the appropriate thing to do. That if anything, some of the T intersections, maybe a yield sign would be more appropriate if even needed. But, we would look at the overall neighborhood, the accident data, and the speeds within to see if anything was needed or warranted.
And their concern was speed.
Their concern was twofold, both speed and potential accidents, because there was recently a near miss with a child.
Okay.
I think originally they, in addition to the stop signs, also inquired about the idea of lowering the speed limit, of which I explained that 25 mile an hour is the state minimum to be posted for a public roadway.
It doesn't sound like speed is an issue in this neighborhood.
No.
Would you say the 85th was around 26, 28 miles an hour?
28 and
24?
29.
And 24 on
And
one street,
24.
yeah.
I mean, that's as good as you're ever going to get.
I mean,
Right.
if your kid's
Yeah.
playing in the front yard, yeah, I mean, it appears fast, and if there's children at play, obviously as we always review, we hope people are cognizant of that. You're in a neighborhood, so it's clearly you're not on a main road, you're
Is there-
within a neighborhood.
Is there a children at play sign when you pull in off of 441 onto Brentwood? I know we talked that should be the way it is, but I know when you pull into Mary's in my neighborhood, there's that children at play, thing that goes down one of the speed limit signs, and we're not seeing it. Just that barrier, or that little reader thing, can that go along the words, go
Well-
along one of the signs as you pull in?
But even though, even the strips that you're talking about do not indicate that there's children at play, they just simply say slow down.
Oh, I thought there was a, don't we, I
There's
thought there
more
was
of
a.
it's an actual
Oh,
sign.
maybe it's a sign,
not
and we have just children at
Yep.
play sign in our neighborhood, right, Mary?
I can't picture, where are you talking about?
When you first pull into Beacon Hills,
On the, that.
from
5 mile
Scribner. I know from Scribner, I can't think
Oh,
of it.
yeah.
There, but there's it is probably, looks like it's been there for a long time.
Okay.
Generally, a child at play sign is a yellow sign at the top of a post.
Right.
And we're also talking about the slow down signs that are strips along a post.
Right.
I think if we're going to do anything, I would recommend enforcement and then the small consideration of a sign at Hillary Lane close to Hill Rise.
A stop
Because
sign
they're
there?
slightly offset streets. Whether it's a stop sign or a yield sign, that,
And we should have a
That's a
closer
discussion.
review of that intersection before we, we
Yes.
go to that step and, whether that's needed or not.
and I'm not saying it's specifically needed.
Yeah.
But that would be the biggest consideration.
That makes
So,
sense.
As to Eric's comment, we can look at the data and see if at 6:05 every evening, somebody goes through there doing 60 miles an hour, we can extrapolate that data and share that with the sheriff's office if there is any sort of consistency to that of the one-offs or the people doing an excessive speed. We can do that, that step first, and then, we did in other neighborhoods was a review of the intersections in the area, and I think, Eric, you went out the Yorktown neighborhood and kind of looked at what is all the signage in the area, what was stop sign, yield sign, and then, at least make sure we're consistent within the neighborhood of what's out there. So maybe looking ahead at our next meeting, if the group is okay with that, staff can kind of do an initial analysis of kind of what's out there now, see if we are consistent, obviously before we, jump to any decision or, additional signage.
That makes sense.
Is
I
Group
agree with
Group
that.
comfortable with that approach for now?
Yes.
Yeah.
To, just as a side note, our crews have been working this week doing our chip sealing process and have been throughout that neighborhood. So just some of the loose stone is going to
That'll slow them down.
That slows them
unintentionally
down, yeah.
slow some of
Yeah, we
the
know.
drivers down as well. So that may,
That's not a permanent solution, but at least
no,
temporarily.
but I mean,
that
at
would-
least, temporarily that may help, some of the concern of speed, even though it really isn't. Cars are going to be traveling slower because of that.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody good with item number 1?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So discussion number 2, again, another carryover from our last meeting, the request for a stop sign at the intersection of Ashby Circle and Balmoral Drive. This is in the Arbor Ridge neighborhood off of Fellows Road. So at the last meeting, again, the committee asked to get some traffic counts for that. We had the traffic counts, and then we also were waiting the accident data, so we'd gotten the accident data since then. And Sarah, you want to do another little recap for us?
Sure. So, the sheriff's office went through accident data for the last 5 years, and there were no accidents on Balmoral and Ashby Circle. We did counts both north of Ashby Circle on Balmoral and just east of Balmoral on Ashby Circle. And the ADT for Ashby was 133, and the 85th percentile was 22 in a 25. For Balmoral, the ADT was 190, and it again was 22 in a 25. The numbers that we're looking at show residents going to their homes. It's nothing higher than we would expect. And the speeds are lower than the speed limit, likely because it's not that, we did it not that far from an intersection. But neither of these roads are very far from an intersection because they're short roads for a townhouse complex.
I was going to say, don't they feed townhomes or senior 55-plus community kind of thing?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, this is all a senior living development or senior.
My understanding from the concern was the residents were more concerned about delivery trucks speeding than regular residents or
I
visitors
think
speeding.
the original concern wasn't so much about the speed. It was a request for a stop sign at the intersection. More so for folks that are leaving, that they would be stopping prior, if they're coming off of the, kind of the circle to the east, that they actually stop before they make a turn. So that, you basically have the right of way as you're coming in and heading back towards your house. I think a few of the residents brought it up to their homeowners association, and the homeowners association is the one that reached out requesting the possibility of the sign.
So where do they want the sign? Where the road tees in?
Yep.
Which you naturally stop.
You should,
Oh,
yes.
Should.
Well, let's put that, yeah, you should naturally stop. Or did they want a sign on both sides?
Nope, it was just the
at
one
that T.
location as you approach the T.
All right.
Just to be something that you can point to as a traffic control device that you have to stop. Should, but
You know how many people I see just sort of roll through a red light without, it's like they don't even do this right on red after stop. They right after red after I sort of checked and keep going. Stop sign's not going to make any difference. Will it make them feel better? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, based on the data that we have, the accidents, I don't
Yeah,
see
there's-
that it's warranted.
Right, there's no
in
accidents.
this location.
I don't either. Like I said,
No
it was a
speed.
request that was brought up. I wanted to bring it before the committee. Sarah, thank you for reaching out and getting the accident data. I don't see that it's necessary.
Yeah.
And it can certainly follow up and let them know that.
Anybody else on the committee thoughts on this one?
Only thing we've talked about in the past is if the delivery trucks are doing something, we can always go to their company or something, but it didn't sound like that was the case. I mean, they apparently were speeding a little bit, the delivery trucks.
Yeah, I think it was just
That was-
rolling through the intersection but unless it's the male man that's going on a regular basis, I think we've all seen, I don't know if I ever seen a Prime person from Amazon or UPS person ever be the same. It's always somebody different, so I don't know how you could even approach somebody or contact them
I
to.
know.
And that was more specifically a comment from residents when we were putting down the traffic counters,
Yeah,
Oh,
not the original complaint.
okay.
Oh, so they were talking to you as you were doing that. Okay, I
They
get
do
it.
tend to do that,
by the way,
Extra input.
yes.
Oh, by the way.
I mean, I think at this point, if this group is supportive, I think we say it's not warranted at this time.
Precisely.
Please let us know if things change. We'll count it again or look at it, or if something different happens, but I don't see that it being warranted, given the current data and the current information that we have.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Eric, you'll respond to the
Will do.
person accordingly? Okay. So item number 3, Avonmore Way, speeding concerns. And this kind of related to a couple of different facets. So I think we've looked at this a while ago. This backs up to Harris Wayland Park. So Harris Wayland Park is on your right. There is a pedestrian access connection that goes between two houses that goes from the neighborhood over into Harris Wayland Park. I believe we looked at this several years ago and made this a 3-way intersection, so there are stop signs on all 3 sides. So the concern came in, gentleman lives down the road, he just said, I've seen people, just drive through the stop sign. So
Yeah.
that's an enforcement issue, and he goes, I've seen the sheriff sit in one of the neighbors' driveways to kind of watch, so he goes, I know that's gone on. It also had concern, for students, kids coming from the school back into the neighborhood. So I think one of the things we should look at, I think on blowing through a stop sign, that's a police enforcement issue, and we can share that with the sheriff's office. The second thing I think we should look at, and I think Sarah was going to pull up the street view, was the signage for the crosswalk that's there. So we have a crosswalk that's just beyond that, but we really don't have signage showing that there is crosswalk
Oh, the little picture with the little
in the
people
area,
walking.
people or crosswalk ahead
Kids with backpacks.
for it or
yeah.
anything else. So I think that's one thing we can look at is, getting some proper signage for a crosswalk, letting know that, kids are coming through there. They also raised the concern about the proximity of the hedge that's on the west side of Hillrise, whether that's gotten overgrown or not, just saying that, as kids come up or people come out of that neighborhood, they kind of just appear behind that hedge. So obviously, if it's on private property, not a whole lot we can do about it. If it's in the right-of-way and it's getting overgrown, that's something that Eric and his crew
Well, even
do a
if it's
lot,
on
is to go
private
back
property, you can't ask them for
we can,
safety
we can
concerns
talk to the
too.
neighbors, and obviously, they've put it up as a buffer from, between them and, the access, but if it's becoming a safety issue. But if it's in the right-of-way, that's something that, I said Eric and his crews go out and trim trees and shrubs back all the time, improving sight distance. But one of the things I noted was, it doesn't appear we have proper signage to note that there is a crosswalk there and
Yeah.
kids coming out. So if people aren't stopping at a stop sign, signage-wise, I don't think there's much we can do to change. I think there's a striped, we striped a stop bar. We have stop signs on all.
It should be a stop bar and
All
a
lanes and-
crosswalk,
I was
both
gonna say,
striped.
I don't
The
see the
crosswalk
crosswalk
is-
painted. Is it
It
there?
is.
Or am I
It's
just not
painted,
seeing? Oh,
yeah,
there it
it's-
is.
It's painted
Okay.
there, but.
There we go.
I think having a
you.
sign saying crosswalk, or crosswalk ahead, we can review that and take a look at that, that may
Yeah.
lend itself to some more
And I believe that,
identity to
I
that.
believe that crosswalk was repainted again either last year or the year before. So this picture's, I know, is a little faded and worn off, but it
From
has been
2012.
refreshed since.
Oh, 2012, yeah. I guess it's probably been painted a couple of times since then. but-
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like a good idea, putting a crosswalk sign.
So, yeah, I say we can share with the sheriff's office if people are going through the stop sign or not stopping for that, or just
Yeah,
driving through it, that's an enforcement end of it, but.
right, they could just swing by.
How you doing? Can you please give me what intersection it is with the stop sign? It's Scott over at Sheriff's.
Yeah, thank you, Captain. So it'd be the intersection of Avonmore and Hillrise. So it's signed as a three-way stop, so this is just in the neighborhood just west of Harris Whalen Park, so north of 441, but Avonmore and Hillrise, there's a three-way stop, and then we've gotten some complaints that people are just not even slowing down at all, no brake lights, just driving straight through, which is unsafe to begin with, but then, having a crosswalk that comes out of the school, with kids coming home from school is added to that concern.
Yep, I see it on the map. I'll pass it on to our staff.
Thank you very much. Any other thoughts, comments, feedback on this concern? Okay, so we'll follow up, we'll look at the crosswalk end of it. Sounds like the sheriff's office has it on review for the traffic violations, and I'll circle back with the resident on that one.
Sounds good.
Item number 4, Woodfield Drive. I think, Eric, you took this one initially. You want to give us a...
Yep. So it came in from one of the residents on the curve of Woodfield. Right in that area. Just concern, they've lived there for a number of years, raised their kids there. Kids have kind of grown up and moved out. But seeing, the turnover within the neighborhood, and especially the fact that, nowadays, folks have cell phones and, between distracted driving and cars just generally driving faster than that of the past, a little concerned about the speed through there. We did, again, one of the initial, inquiries from the resident was about lowering the speed limit, or installing additional signs through the neighborhood. He originally alleged that there were no speed limit signs on the street whatsoever. I was then able to indicate and remind him or inform him of the particular addresses of which the signs were located in front of, and said, yes, they are. He said ultimately just concerned about, doesn't want a kid to get, hit by a car or injured, which I, certainly understand. I explained that I would bring it up with the committee. We'll certainly continue to keep an eye on it. I know we did put our radar feedback trailer out in that neighborhood last year. I know a number of people, we did put it closer up, kind of further to the north, closer to Plank Road, as there was a concern. I think last year's concern was people just blowing through the stop signs. I think that radar feedback trailer definitely did help and was well received by the neighbors. We can certainly look to put that back out in the neighborhood and move that, further to the south and put it kind of closer to the straightaway, by the pond, or even, just around the corner and further north, or a combination of both to kind of catch either direction. I think ultimately he was, satisfied with that as an idea. And I don't know that the group necessarily needs to do or discuss anything further. But, that's at least the conversation that I had with him.
And Sarah, you had the data. We counted it last in 2020, so just last year we did counts on it.
Yep, last year we counted in 2 locations north of that bend, closer to Mount View Crescent and Periwinkle Way. And that was an 85th percentile of 27 miles per hour, and the ADT was 485, which is what we would expect in a subdivision like this.
Even during COVID, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably a little low during COVID. I wouldn't be surprised, but that was also late last year.
Oh, okay.
I say COVID, we saw a drop in amount of traffic, so the AEDTs dropped, so the amount of traffic you've seen, but we've seen the speeds go up, so.
Yes.
Yeah, because nobody's on the
People-
road.
Well,
Just,
it's
And-
you trade one for the other. Everybody complains about how much traffic there is, but that slows the people down, and now, we'd seen less traffic, so then,
And we waited to do our
Obviously higher
counts last
speeds.
year until about September so that they would be more
when kids were in
accurate.
school and, yeah.
Yep.
things started to open back up.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we did any counts in the
We
spring,
didn't.
just knowing that numbers would be so skewed between
Yeah.
March and at least June or July. We kind of just held off or held back doing any counts, just so that we
And,
try to get as much realistic data as we can.
That makes sense.
and it is possible that counts are still down and speeds are still high because there's still people not going to work and instead working at home. But that's not something we can
Yeah.
just stop doing counts right now
Well, I
for.
get that.
So Eric, you'll respond back to the neighbor, we'll put the speed card out. We have that at our disposal and can use that, but
Yep, I've got a
think there's any
couple,
other
a
action
couple
needed.
locations for it, to start putting out, in the next, week or possibly even tomorrow. And make sure it's fully charged, but
okay.
a few locations to start with, and we'll certainly make sure that that's part of it.
Okay. If everybody else is good with that, we'll move on the agenda. Other business, item 4, I don't think we have anything. Item 5, held items, we don't have any held items. Item 6, new business.
I've got a couple things. I know, I believe last fall, we actually discussed the intersection of Harris Road and Sweets Corners, and concern about vehicles not stopping at that intersection. Harris Road is a straight-through. There is no stop sign as you're traveling north and south. But as you approach Harris from the east or west on Sweets Corners, there are stop signs and signs kind of further back, warning signs indicating that there's a stop sign ahead. It is a little bit of a hill approaching from either side, as well as kind of houses pretty close to the corner and some trees, so that sight distance is not great. Certainly okay if you do stop and you can look both ways, but for the few vehicles that have chosen not to, there were, at the time we did reach out, and given that it is, Harris Road is a county road, we asked the county to take a look at the accident data in the intersection itself. At the time, they determined that all of the signage was appropriate and that nothing further was needed. However, this past March, there was an accident involving another vehicle that ended up crashing into the house at that southeast corner. The county has since taken a look at the kind of all of the data in that accident in particular, and has made a recommendation and will be moving forward installing doing dual stop signs on the left and the right side of the road on Sweets Corners as you approach Harris, as well as dual warning signs on the left and right side of the road prior to the intersection going both directions on Sweets Corners. So they sent a a notice based on their investigation and what they've made as a determination. Just wanted to share that with the group.
And those warning signs will say cross traffic does not stop?
They are simply a red octagon with an arrow to show that there's a stop sign further ahead. On the stop signs themselves, they may put a sign there. I'm not positive. That was not indicated within the letter.
And I don't know if that's a standard DOT, but I know other sections you've seen cross traffic does not stop. I think
Unless there's one.
Is one
I
more?
guess there may be one there already.
I drove through today and just looked, and there wasn't on the road, but sometimes, to me, that's a good reminder. You don't, if you pull up and thought it was a four-way or something else, you see cross traffic does not stop. It's just one more reminder to kind of look up and down the street and see if that's what's.
It did say in that letter
Okay.
that it
Oh,
would.
did it? Okay,
Yep.
I apologize.
Yep. That's okay.
Eric, you made a comment about the sight distance not being great. Has an engineering analysis been done on that? Was it measured? Is it within design spec?
The county did, they did find that it's adequate, but again, if as you approach it, you cannot see the traffic, it's harder to see the traffic traveling north and southbound on Harris Road, and that's why the stop signs are located, on Sweets Corners rather than on Harris.
Yeah, if you're stopped at the stop sign, there is adequate sight distance.
Yeah,
up and
it
down
is
the road to
adequate.
see once you're there, but if you just approach the intersection as you approach, and if you don't stop, there's not great sight distance going either direction as people approach. You don't see the car approaching, but if you do stop at the appropriate spot at the stop bar, you can see up and down Harris Road. It's pretty open and it's straight at that point, but it's just a matter of people apparently not seeing the stop signs, not being aware of it, and just kind of rolling along in their day and blowing across Harris Road.
And they are also repainting and kind of refreshing the stop bars at the intersection as well. And the cross traffic does not stop.
I say we just got
Missed
this
that.
letter yesterday, so we can send it out to the committee. You guys can, see the letter as well, but that's what Eric's referencing.
A copy of the letter was also sent out to the Monroe County Sheriff's Department requesting additional speed enforcement on Harris Road.
Okay. So I think that was more of an update to the committee than anything else, just as we looked at this, say, last year or the year before. So in recent years, we'd looked at it, but we'll also share with the committee that letter for your reference. Other new business?
I also did receive one additional email from a resident requesting kind of a review and solutions to be put into place at least the list. There were 8 different locations, but also indicated that these were not specific locations, that there are others that may apply as well, but one of which being kind of Watson Road and the entire stretch of that, concerns that there have been multiple accidents in the kind of recently, that driving behavior is aggressive and, excessive speeding. Again, with the intersection of Harris and Sweets Corners, as well as Sweets Corners and Salt Road, concern about both of those intersections. I did inform the resident that the county was already looking at Harris and Sweets Corners and going to be adding additional signage to that intersection. Another one being the intersection of 441 and 250. Drivers failing to yield when turning left after the green arrow and frequently running the red light. And concern about, both pedestrians and bicyclists. Also, Wayland Road at Atlantic, that multiple cars, as they're turning, have been observed crossing the double yellow lines when making their turn and not staying, kind of cutting the corner. Wayland Road at Dublin Road, Peachtree at Penfield Road, Jackson Road Extension at Wayland Road, all 3 of which running the stop signs. and the intersection of Baird Road and Wayland, it's a four-way stop, and there's blinking red warning lights there. Number of cars running through those stop signs and not even trying to stop. I did remind the resident that the only location out of the 8 that he indicated that is actually a town or 2 town roads coming together and you know, within our jurisdiction is Wayland at Dublin. There is a stop sign at the end of Wayland Road. There is nothing along Dublin. It is a kind of a straight, road. I know there's been a number of other concerns on Dublin Road from the same individual, as well as kind of within that area. I don't know that there's a whole lot that we can necessarily do. I reminded him that we do not have our own police force. We are unable to, issue tickets for any traffic, vehicle and traffic law violations. That I, would be happy to share these concerns with the Monroe County DOT and/or the New York State DOT. He declined that offer and did not want that to be any of the locations that are within their jurisdiction to be shared with them. So I reminded him that if I'm not sharing them, then likely nothing's going to happen.
So it would be reasonable for us to ask for stop sign enforcement at Wayland and Dublin from the sheriff's office?
That makes sense.
I'm sorry, was there a particular time of day or day of week that we should focus on, or is it all time, all days?
That was not indicated within the email. I can certainly, ask and see if there are any particulars, but that was not provided.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a reason? Did he give you any reason at all why he didn't want you to share that with the state or the county?
No, nope, just didn't want his name or email shared. Didn't want it shared with this group either originally, but I indicated I can't really discuss it if I'm not allowed to share it.
Doesn't sound like there's much to discuss. I mean, is there enforcement?
And that was, more the intent, just letting the group know I did receive, a letter. However, we're not in control or have the jurisdiction over, all but one of these intersections, and even that, we don't have the ability to enforce. So that's something that would be above and beyond, the town of Penfield or the Transportation Committee in particular.
Okay. Anything else on this one?
Nope,
Okay. Thanks for sharing.
happily.
Anybody else have any new business to discuss? Seeing none, we'll jump into public participation. I'm not seeing that we have any callers or any submissions. PCTV, am I missing anybody?
No, we're all set, no call.
Okay, thank you. So with that, our next meeting is scheduled for June 17th. We'll do the 5 to 6 p.m. As we've done. For those that are on Zoom, you're welcome to remain Zoom. For those that want to come in, you're obviously welcome to join us here in the auditorium. We'll leave that open to you. In the meantime, I think staff has a couple items we'll follow up on. We'll share the letter we got from the county DOT yesterday back with the group. Other than that, hope you guys have a good rest of the month, and we will see you on June 17th. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
With that, we'll adjourn at 5:43 p.m.